Political news shot out of a cannon this morning when Governor Tim Walz dropped out of the race for a third term as governor. It wasn't shocking. Anyone paying attention knew the fraud avalanche was just getting to be too much. Nevertheless, what happens now? Kent takes it from here.
So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year.
Governor Walz's sudden news conference announcing that he's dropping his bid for a third term is difficult to describe, even for longtime political analysts.
The announcement from Governor Walz today feels both surprising and inevitable.
Republican analyst Brian McClung and Democrat Jeff Hayden agree that Walz made the right choice for the state.
I think one of the big turning points was probably when the assistant U.S. attorney said that he thought that this could be a $9 billion problem.
It's a staggering industrial scale fraud.
That announcement from U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson back on December 18th also included new revelations of so-called fraud tourism, people who came from out of state just to take advantage of a Minnesota Medicaid program.
Every day we look under a rock and find a new $50 million fraud scheme.
That combination probably told the governor that there was a lot more here than he originally thought.
For Republicans running to replace him, the race for governor may now be more difficult than they thought.
Well, I think Republicans broadly would have preferred to run against Tim Walz. Right? I mean, Tim Walz is the face of a potential $9 billion fraud problem in Minnesota.
McClung says the race becomes even more difficult if Senator Amy Klobuchar decides to run, as many expect.
I mean, she is, the most popular politician statewide in Minnesota.
But he believes fraud will remain the focal point regardless.
And I think they would make the case that, look, Amy Klobuchar or not, you have to pick new leadership for the state to root out the problems that have happened. This is not even just a Tim Walz problem. This goes back to the Mark Dayton administration, issues with fraud in daycare programs back then. And so just changing it up with another Democrat is not enough.
It's why both men say what Governor Walz does over the next several months will likely prove pivotal to whoever ends up winning.
So I'm hoping that the governing, which sometimes gets lost in this political realm, kind of comes back, and we actually want to get back to providing services that people need and making sure that the taxpayers' dollars are being used properly.
I'll be watching to see if now maybe having Tim Walz out of the picture as a political candidate, if that allows some space for the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Walz administration to find a way to work together on some of this.
Now, on that, Brian and Jeff said this next chapter for Governor Walz will be fascinating to watch. It's the first time in a very long time, they say, that he'll be governing and not running for another office. And yet, because of these expanding fraud investigations and the work Walz himself has already started by appointing a new fraud czar, it seems like he'll be anything but a lame duck governor. Jana.
Yeah, it's kind of like a clean up the mess that happened over this administration now for the next 10 months, 11 months till we get to the November election, and that's the focus. But he didn't take any questions today, so we'll see what he says tomorrow.
There will be a lot of questions tomorrow.
Oh yeah, a lot of people have questions. Thanks so much, Kent. We keep on this topic when we come back with